in the background, but there's nothing I can do about it. Community is doing a lot of cleaning today for some reason. All right, so I'm gonna go over the agenda. Okay, just a quick reminder. Tutoring will start next week on Wednesdays and Thursdays. It will be from 3:30 to 4:30. Google Meet link will be shared on Google Classroom soon. Please, if you need help, be prompt. That way, nor your time or my time are wasted. Okay. We are scheduled to have the USA on Monday. I think it's about 14 questions. Today we'll do the second part of the review. And in regards to your homeworks, homework 5 and homework 4 are still available for you to do. No late credits will be given, so no penalty, so you can do them for full credit. And also anything from week number 1, anything from week number 1. I do think that your grades have been updated. Your class grade have been updated. I think there's only a couple assignments that I didn't update. Okay, so if there is a mistake on your grade, I would like to know about it right away. Okay? Okay, we go back here. And please use the link. I will wait until a minute or so. I still have a few, so I have Tekmenda, Brian, Cynthia, Chelsea, Trevon, Janelle, Jeff Kenley, Lillian, Amari, Skylar, and Danny. It's not shown as active on the Google on the quizzes link. So again, you should use the quizzes link that's attached to assignment number 20. You are okay. It might show up after you answer a question, but until then, I might not see it. You're into okay, great. This is a code just in case if your thing isn't working, and please turn your cameras on. All right, I'm gonna get started because I don't want to waste time waiting. Let's see. Awesome. Everybody else is in? All right, we did this yesterday, so let's see how many of you remember. How do we find the value of x? It says, in the diagram, the perpendicular bisector meet at point S. Find the value of x. How do we find x here? Okay, I'll remind you with one thing. The perpendicular bisector is congruent. So all of this distance from the circumcenter to the perpendicular bisector are congruent. Yes, thank you, Trevon. We use Pythagorean to find the missing link. So c squared equal to a squared plus b squared. C, is C 6, 10, or X? Remember, if this is X, this distance is X, and the one on the top here is also X. So C has to be the hypotenuse. C has to be the hypotenuse. So which one is C? 10, 6, or X? 10. Got it. So 10 squared equal to 6 squared plus X squared. Okay, so this is C. That's A and B. Okay? Again, it doesn't matter which is A and which is B. It matters that your longest side is always the hypotenuse. And then we solve. So 10 squared is 100 equal to 36 plus X squared. We subtract the 36 from the 100, so we get 64 equal to X squared. And we take the square root. That's one thing is forgotten. Students forget to take the square root. So X equal to 8. So if SQ is 8, that means SR is 8 and SP is also 8. So if this is 8, this distance is also 8, and that distance here is also 8. Okay? So answer is 8. Next question. In triangle ABC, G is the centroid. Find if BD is 15, find BG and DG. So BD is actually the entire median, so it's the full median. The question is asking to find BD, which is this distance, the big segment of the median, and DG, the small segment of the median. Okay, so remember yesterday I mentioned that the big is half of the small. Sorry, I meant to say the small is half of the big. So small equal to 1/2 of big, and the big is equal to 2 times the small segment. Now, this wouldn't apply in this situation because we have the entire median. When the entire median is given, you will need to do the 1/3 and the 2/3 ratio. Okay, let me explain that. So it means that the small is equal to 1/3 of the median, and the big is 2/3 of the median. So in this case, if BD is the full median 15, what do you think small and big should be? If the whole thing is 15, the big and the small, so DG is the small, so what do you think DG should be? That's right. So the small is 1/3 of the ratio, so 1/3 of the median, so that's 1/3 of 15, that's DG, so that's 5. Now the big, which is GB, or BG as it is written here, there's multiple ways we can find this. One, we know it is 10 because you can easily multiply 5 by 2. You also know it's 10 because of the full median is 15. You take away 5, you get 10. And you can do the 2/3 ratio. and it would also give you 10. So this has a multiple ways to find it. Okay? So makes the small one is 5, the big one is 10. All right. And I do think that I wrote it differently. I don't know why. What did I write as an insert key? So hold on, let me pull this out. So I wrote 5, 10. 5 space 10. That's all I wrote. 5 space 10. All right. This question right here deals with a scenario I talked about yesterday, and I said if you have two angles that are complementary, so if two angles are complementary, which means equal to 90 degrees. Yeah, I don't know if I can pull up this in a different way. Or for some reason, all right, let me see. I'm gonna share this side. For some reason, I wrote something and I think pressing enter kind of inserted it wrong for me. But I'm gonna go ahead and insert it here. So this should be the same question that you all see. So if two angles are complementary, then the two angles are the sine of one is equal to the cosine of other. Okay, so let's read this. It says so if two angles are complementary, then the sine of one equal to the cosine of the other, and vice versa. Which means the cosine of it would also equal to the sine. Okay, so let's take a look at this triangle here. For this triangle, we see two parallel lines. We see JE is parallel to FH. So as a result of two parallel lines, we have a couple things here. One, we have J is 90 degree. That will make H 90 degree as well, given that they're both corresponding angles. E would be congruent to F, or JEG would be congruent to GFH, also corresponding angles. So in this case, we have a lot to deal with. So the best way to do this is really to put some numbers in. If we look at the very big triangle, the big triangle, we see E and G are complementary angles because J is 90. That means E and G must also be 90. So E right here is 40. I'm sorry, I'm assuming it is 40. So if E is 40, then G must be 50. Or if E is 30, then G must be 60. It just must be something in the other. If one is 45, the other one has to be 45. If one is 10, the other one is 80. The one is 20, then it has to be 70. They must equal to 90 degrees. So you can pick any two angles that are adding to 90 degrees. So in this case, I picked 40 and 50. So that makes F also 40, because if we look at the small triangle GFH, F and G are complementary. Or if we look at the E and F, they're also congruent because of the corresponding. So now let's select all statements that are equivalent to sine GFH, 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 GFH. So that means sine 40. GFH will be sine 40. Okay, I just put it on the top here because I want to see what goes with what. Let's take a look at this as the first option, sine GEJ. GEJ. This angle right here. GEJ. Well, GEJ is congruent to GFH because they're corresponding. So this would also be sine 40. So yes, sine 40 is equal to sine 40. So this would be one of the answers. So I'll just put a check mark on that. Let's try the second one. It says cosine FGH. Cosine FGH. That's cosine 50. Cosine 50. Now, remember what I said. If two angles are 90 degrees, then the sine of one is equal to the cosine of the other. So remember, this is sine 40. This is cosine 50. If we add 40 plus 50, we get 90. So they are equal. And you can try them mathematically. The sine 40, like if you do this on the calculator, like 40 sine, I get 0.6. So here I get 0.6. And if I do cosine 50, I also get 0.6. So they are equal as well. So that applies numerically, and also applies with the rule I gave you. All right, anything that has to do with tan can never be equal to sine, but however, it doesn't hurt to try. So it says GEJ, so that is 40. So tan 40 isn't going to equal to sine 40, but you can try it on a calculator. Is tan 40 would equal 0.6? So tan 40 is 0.8. So this really can't be any of them. You can always eliminate the tan right away. All right, sine EGJ, 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 sine 50, sine 50. Is sine 50 equal to cosine to sine 40? Well, sine 40 is 0.6. Sine 50 is, let's see, sine 50 is 0.7, 0.76. So this would equal to 0.76. Again, only the sine of one equal to the cosine of the other, but this is sine 50, that's sine 40, they won't equal. So this is also out. Let's try cosine GFH, GFH, cosine 40. Let's do cosine 40. So 40 cosine, that's also 0.76. Okay, so that's out. These two are equal to each other, but they're not equal to sine 40. Okay, I know this question is one of the annoying question on the test, but if you understand the idea of saying two angles are complementary, that means the sine of one equal to the cosine of the other, this might be easier. If you also placed the angles with two angles that are complementary, any two ones that are added to 90 degrees, like 40, 50, 30, 60, 45, 45, and try with the numbers calculator, I think you might be that too. All right, so I'm gonna show answers here. So pick these two answers from your answer choices. And select submit, and let's move forward. Any question? It's 10:30. It's not the first two, okay, because the answer choices here are not marked in the same way. Okay, I think it's the two in the middle. It shouldn't mark it wrong. I don't think it should mark it wrong. The blue and the orange, the first and the third, yeah, okay.
Miss Bashara?
Yes, Tina?
Miss Bashara?
I hear you.
Um, the question came out incorrect, but I got the answers right.
You can write it as a private comment. I'm not sure. I have to look at them.
Okay.
I remember the first choice was correct and probably the third one. These.
Never mind. I know what I did wrong. I just put the wrong word in front. In front of it. I put tan instead of sin.
Okay. All right, let's try this. It says find the length of AC and the length of AB. All right, AC and AB. So AC is this distance right here, and then AB is the entire distance. So let's take a look. This is the right triangle. If this is 45, the angle on the top here should also be 45. Do I sound laggy to everyone else?
Dude, why is this not working?
What about now? Do I still sound laggy? Okay, so it might just been the microphone of this computer. I would try to go, take yourself out of the meet and come back, Shayna, if I still sound laggy to you. I really hope the recording kind of works, even though I put myself on mute. All right, so this would be a 45 degree triangle, and which means this is an isosceles triangle. So if this distance is 13 feet, then AC must also be 13 feet. This is a perpendicular bisector, so this distance should also be 13 feet. That means the entire distance of from here to here is 13 plus 13, which is 26 feet. So this is one of the special kind of right triangles, which is the 45 degree triangle. And it is an isosceles right triangle, which means the two legs are congruent. So if one is 13, the other is 13. And since this is the height of the triangle, then it would be bisecting it at C. So C is a midpoint. So 13, 13, 13. So all you need to do is just be careful when you're reading the question for this problem. And I think that the answer here was AC equal to 13 and AB equal to 26. And I shared it in the section here for everyone. Next one would be list the triangle RST in order from the smallest to the largest. So find the value of X. In this question right here, this was very similar to what we did yesterday. Try to find using the hinge theorem and find the sides from smallest to largest. But before we do that, we really have to find the value of X, plug it into each angle. Remember, this is becoming really annoying, that whole thing not being incorrect. I copy and pasted in the chat section for a reason, but just write me a comment. And if you want, you can always retake this. That's why I'm allowing a second try. Okay. All right. So, and then there's a redemption. So right towards the end, once you click submit, it's going to ask you to redeem any of the questions that you got wrong. So you can redeem them. All right, so here we first need to find the value of X. So in this question, what is the sum of all angles inside a triangle to find X? What's the sum of all angles in a triangle? 180 degrees. That means angle R, S, and T are all equal to 180. The 360 is for the equilateral, for the quadrilateral. So we will add them. So we do 7x plus 40 plus 8x plus 25 plus 5x plus 15 equal to 180 degrees. And we combine the x's, so 7 plus 5 plus 5 should give us 7 plus 5 plus 8 is 15, yes, plus 5 is 20, so this would be 20x, thank you. We do the same thing for the numbers. 40 plus 25 plus 15 should give us 80, equal to 180 degrees. And then we solve for x. Start by subtracting 80 from both sides, divide the 20, so x is equal to 5. This is not your answer, okay? This is just one step to get to the answer. Now, step 2, once we found x, is we need to plug it in, because in order to know which side is the largest or the smallest, we have to find which angle is bigger than the other. And that reason for this, using the hinge theorem, the bigger the angle, the bigger the side. The smaller the angle, the smaller the side. So let's plug it in. What's the value of r? If I plug in x with 5, what should r equal to? $65, great. What about s? What's s equal to? 75, great. And t? Great, 40. Remember that if we add 40 plus 75 plus 65, we must get 180 degrees, okay? So if you don't get that answer, if you don't get 180 degrees, you might have plugged in something wrong. All right, now, which one is the biggest angle of them all? Sorry, we're doing smallest to largest, so we need to look for the smallest angle of all. Is it RS or T? Smallest angle is T. That means the smallest side is what's in front of T. Okay, what's in front of T or across from T is RS. So this is the smallest side. RS is the smallest side. So this one goes first. RS. Next after 40 is 65. Okay, so this goes in front of 65, goes next, which is ST. So that's 2. ST, that's 2. And then in front of the S, which is a 75, we'll get the RT, and that will go third. Okay, so the smallest one is RS. Next would be ST, and then RT. T. Just double check the spelling so you guys don't get anything wrong. So SR, ST, RT. SR space ST, RT. SR space ST space RT. SR ST RT. Next question would be the perimeter question. It says find the perimeter of each triangle. In order to find the perimeter, you need to know in order to find the perimeter of the triangle, you have to find the length of each side. There's one they have given to us already, so we don't really have to worry about that, which is the 12-inch. We have to find these two. How do we find these two? How do we find X to find them? They are equal because it's an isosceles triangle. Great. So this one right here, thanks Maria. So these two are congruent. So we set them equal to each other to find X, plug it in, and then add all the sides to find the perimeter. Okay? All right. So X plus 6 equal to 3X plus 2. Okay? And we subtract the X from both sides. So we get 2X here. This goes away. And then we subtract the 2 from both sides. So we get 4 here. And this goes away. Then we divide. X is 2. Please remember that you are not done. You have to plug in the X. So if X is 2, this side should be 8. And that side should also be 8. Okay? If the sides aren't both equal to each other, you did something wrong. You either solved for X wrong or plugged X in wrong. And again, you're not done. You have to add all the sides to find the perimeter. Okay? Many of the questions on that test are actually multi-step questions. So some students will stop at X and say, oh, I got it right. No, X isn't your answer. Once you find X, go back and plug it in, and then add all the sides to find the perimeter. Okay? So what's the perimeter here? (28-inch), and I think I only put 28 for an answer, no units for this one. All right, this question right here is a proof question, but when we do the 2-column proof, what we need to do is we need to read the given, find what the proof is, and the question is asking to just write down the reasons. So I'll just go over it with you. So B is the midpoint of DC. B is a midpoint of DC. This means that B splits DC into congruent pieces. So we have a piece that's congruent to a piece here. That's what a definition of midpoint is. Angle D is congruent to angle C. So angle D right here is congruent to angle C. Prove that E and A are congruent. So we need to prove this angle here is congruent to that angle here. Okay? Let's read the choices. It says, the first statement says B is a midpoint of DC. Why, what would be the reason for the first one? What do you think a reason is for B is the midpoint? Remember the first reason of a proof is the word given. Thank you. So number one is given. Number two, it says DB is congruent to BC. DB is this distance right here. DB is congruent to BC. Well, they said that B is a midpoint. Wouldn't that be the definition of midpoint? So number two is the definition of midpoint. Okay. 3, D is congruent to C. Why D and C are congruent? What would be the reason for the third choice? There's no AA congruency. It's AA similarity. But look at the graphic. Look at the question itself. Isn't that given in the problem? D and C are congruent. All right. Now that we have angle ABC is congruent to angle EBD. So let's look at these two angles here. Angle ABC, so it's actually this angle right here, and angle EBD, and this angle right here. Why do you think these two angles are congruent? Remember these two angles congruent, they form letter X. Remember the two pair that form letter X? They are vertical angle pair. Okay, so they are congruent because they're vertical. They form letter X. So they are vertical. Okay, 5. Why do you think the two triangles are congruent? So if you remember from congruency, we have 4 postulates for congruency. We have S, 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 A, S, and then A, S, A, and angle, angle, side. Those are the 4 postulates. Which one fits in here? Okay, so let's take a look. We have an angle, we have a side, and another angle. On this triangle, we also have an angle, a side, and angle. Remember, they're corresponding, okay? So it's angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. And why is it angle, side, angle, and it's not angle, angle, side? Because S is between the two angles. So that's why it's angle, side, angle. Now, once we have proven that the triangles are congruent, this means the other angle, like the E and A are congruent, and the other side, DE and AC are congruent. The other ones too are like the BE and the AB are congruent. This is, if you remember this is called the corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. It's called the CPCTC. Okay, and this is nothing more than that once the triangles are proven to be congruent, that means all the remaining corresponding parts of the triangles are also congruent. And it's 100% of the time, it's the reason right after a congruency. So you see how number 5 says congruent triangles? So 6, it's the reason, it's 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10. It's always going to be the reason CPCTC. It always be the reason that comes after a triangles that are congruent. Okay? All right, so the answer for this one is just the CPCTC. So CPCTC. CPCTC. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. All right, next question is on trigonometry. It says a 2-meter television camera at ground filming the lift off a space shuttle at a point that's 750 meters away from the launch pad. So the distance from the lens of the camera to the launch pad is 750 meters. And it does say that the height of the shuttle is 472. So the height, that means the distance from the top where the shuttle is all the way to the ground is 472. Is 472. What is the angle of elevation? What's the angle of elevation? So we're looking at this angle right here to the shuttle at that specific time. So let me just finish off this. So this is the angle of elevation that we're looking at. So I'm going to make this here. If you see, it's not the entire height of the triangle. Okay, not the entire height of the triangle. It's just one piece of it, which is the distance from the camera lens to the top of the shuttle. Okay, this is 750 meters, so this would be the same. We will have to use trigonometry to find the, so if you remember sine, cosine, tan, but before we do that, well, we know that what we have here for this is the so here we have the opposite and we have adjacent. So we have O and we have A. So O and A, that is tan. So I'm going to use tan to find the angle. Tan theta, or tan x, the angle, equal to the opposite over the adjacent. Well, the adjacent is 750. My issue is with the opposite. So what's the opposite of this angle? What's the opposite of this angle? What's O? The opposite of this angle is the distance from the shuttle to the camera lens. So the camera height itself is 2 meters. So that means the distance from the camera here to bottom is 2 meters. And the full distance is 472. So what's the opposite of this angle? I would have to subtract the 472 minus the 2 meters of the, which is the camera height. It would give me 470 meters. Yeah, thank you. I know I was a little impatient, but because of time, it's 11:04 and I have a couple questions to answer. All right, remember finding the angles, that means we have to use the inverse of tan, okay? Which means tan with the little negative on the top. So you press 470 divided by 750 and then second tan. 470 divided by 750 equal, and then second tan. And if you do this on the calculator, then the actual angle should be about 32 degrees. No, you did not press equal after 750. You have to press equal. 470 divided by 750 equal second tan. Again, 470 divided by 750 equal, then second tan. This works. Gray calculator, phone calculator. Yes, 32. That's what you got. Remember, you need to know how to use a calculator for the trigonometry. All right, it says find the length of a side of an 11-sided regular polygon given that the radius is 10 units. Okay, so 11-sided polygon. So this is our n, and the radius is 10 units. This is our r. Okay, so In order to do this, we first, just like we've been doing, we need to draw the angle and find it. So I'm going to find the angles, which is 360 divided by n. N here is 11. So 360 divided by 11 is 32.7 degrees. Okay, now we draw half of the triangle. Remember, half of the triangle, half of the angle, half of the side. It's the 3 halves. Half of the triangle, half of the side, and half of the angle. It's radius is 10. Radius is always your hypotenuse, so that would be 10. This angle right here has to be half of the 32, so we divide the 32 by 2, we get 16.36. 16.36. We are finding the side because the question says find the length of the side. So our unknown has to be this, which is 1/2 of the side. So I can just put an x momentarily to make this easier for us. But we're only finding half x because we took half of the triangle. Once we find that, we have to multiply it by 2. Now we use the trigonometry to find this. So first we need to know we have the opposite and hypotenuse. Do you remember what that one is? What's O over H? Sine, cosine, or tan? It's sine. 16.36 equal opposite is x, which is half of the side, divided by 10, which is the hypotenuse. And since x is on the top, we multiply these two. So x, which is half of the side, is 2.82 if we round to the nearest hundredth. And that's only half of the side. Remember, there's another half here. So if this is 2.8, this is also 2.82. 2.8 plus 2.82 should give us the full size. So S is 2 times 2.82. And that should be 5.63. 5.63. I know it is 11:08, but I will still go over the last question during the homeroom. Okay, so stay around, don't leave. All right, so it's 5.63. 5.63. All right, this is the last question, which is so similar, not the last one. We still have one more. All right, find the area of the given regular polygon. I will run through this a little quicker because I think by now we should know what to do here. All right, so the area of the polygon is the apothem times the perimeter divided by 2. And so I need to know what the apothem is. I need to know what the perimeter is. Now, the perimeter is the number of sides times the side. So we do have N and we have S. Can someone tell me what the perimeter is from here? 5.63. What's the perimeter of this polygon right here? How many sides do we have? Great, 35. I like the full answer. So that would be 5 times 7. So perimeter is 35. Great, now we just need to find the apothem. To find the apothem, we have to, just like what we've been doing, divide 360 by 5 by n. So in this case, it's 5. I hope everyone remembers this by heart. It's 72. Draw the triangle. Remember the 3 halves. Okay, half of the triangle, half of the side, half of the angle. So this means this is the 36 degrees. Okay, the apothem is Rx because that's what we're finding. This is the unknown. The side here is 7 given to us, but we're only using half of that. What's half of 7? Great, 3.5. Now we have O, opposite, and adjacent. Sine, cosine, or tan. It's tan. 36 equal to opposite 3.5 divided by the apothem, which is our unknown. We divide, since the apothem is on the bottom, so 3.5 divided by 36 tan equal, try again, 4.82. Now let's plug it in to the area. So 4.82 times 35, divide that by 2, area is 84.3. I think I only put 84 as an answer. Yeah, it just, I only put 84. So don't round, just 84. All right, this last question here says ABC is translated, then it is reflected to map the triangle shown. ABC translated, then reflected ABC as shown. Write at least one postulate or theorem that proves the triangles are congruent. Please remember that translation and reflection results in congruent triangles. That means there is no change in the angle measurement when the triangles are transformed. Okay? Congruency, please. It's congruency though. It says congruent right here though. We have the 4 choices. So if you look at this and the angles are congruent, so B and B, and then A and A prime. C also will be congruent, but in this case, we only need 2 angles and a side. So it would be angle, side, angle. Remember the ones that do not exist? The SSA. Remember the side, side angle, and the other way around. And remember the AAA, the triple A. These are not congruent theorems, okay? These are not congruent. Remember that, so they're out. Okay? So the answer is ASA, angle, side, angle. No, 84. The answer for number 10 was 84, was not 34. Okay? I am done. Study well. Have a great weekend. Email me if you have any questions. Bye.
Miss, what was the answer for 11?
11 ASA, angle, side,
All right.
angle. End of May.